Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Rugby Scoop podcast. Welcome back, Hugh Griffin, the stats man. We understand, obviously, Vickers, Miranda Vuyozanga, a.k.a. He is currently having difficulty with his handle at the moment. And I think he has been...
If anybody receives a link from Vickers, don't click it.
Yeah. If you get a message from Vuyozanga on Twitter, do not click on the link. I'm surprised Jade is still alive and kicking. Very cold weather conditions, ridiculous weather conditions in Bloemfontein, South Africa. Jade, how are you doing?
Good. No, man, the cold is done. It's summertime now, bro.
Summertime.
Summer's coming. Yeah, please, guys, don't click on anything that Vickers sent you. Even if it is stats regarding rugby or anything, don't click on anything. Just tell Vickers should check and stop clicking on these R1 Adidas sales that he sees.
Fair enough, Griffin. It's been hot, blazing conditions in Europe, Netherlands. I think we had a heat wave this past week, 33, 34, 35 degrees. How has it been in England so far?
God, it's difficult, man. It got up to 36 on Wednesday.
It's insane.
Cooling down a bit now. The weather app is promising rain. If it doesn't come, there will be problems. Oh, did you hear about this alert that we all got?
What happened?
No, right, okay. So in the UK, the government has the capability to send an alarm to everyone's phone.
Yeah.
You'll just be holding your phone and suddenly it will shriek at top volume and a message will pop up on your phone. So everybody thought that the only reason that this thing existed was basically like Russia has launched the nukes, head to the bunker, that kind of thing. Like, so on Friday night, everybody's phone goes off and everybody freaks out, man. It's like, what the hell is this? And it just said high risk of wildfires due to dry weather. We're like, man, it hasn't rained in 10 weeks. Why are we only getting this alarm now?
Yeah, in the Netherlands it does that as well. Once you reach around 40 degrees. So yeah, I mean, it's also nice the fact that you get these alarms. I think in SA, I'm not too sure how it works. I don't think you get it.
When the nukes
the only alerts you get are for load shedding, not for heat. Jade, is that correct?
Load shedding and pay your TV license.
Fair enough. All right, gentlemen, without wasting any time, as usual, starting with news making headlines this past week, Embrose Papier might be heading over to Sale Sharks post 2026-27 URC season. Hugh Griffin, would this be a good opportunity for Embrose Papier, seeing that he's had a wonderful, awesome URC campaign? He was named player of the tournament for the past season, and he made a Springbok debut. Oh, not a debut, but he made his way back into the Springbok camp against Scotland after missing out since 2018. I mean, this move now, do you think Rassie has him in his plans? So if Rassie does have him in his plans, I would stay. But if he doesn't have him in his plans, go to Sale Sharks.
Well, Rassie doesn't seem to count kind of being abroad necessarily against guys. It kind of depends because like Maria Tshiremba playing second division Japan and Rassie's still picking him.
Yeah.
Like obviously they didn't pick when Colby was in Stormers, he didn't get a look for the box. It wasn't until he went to Toulouse and Toulon that he became a Bok, really. So I don't think it's that. I think it's clear that Rassie doesn't currently have Embrose in his plans. To me, I think it's Grant and Kobus are the two. And then I don't really know. I think Mornay van den Berg is probably third at the moment.
It is.
I think Sale wanted. I understand that Sale wanted Papier last season and were willing to pay as a release fee.
Oh wow!
But the Bulls said no. He's our guy. They're keeping him, so he'll see out his contract. But it seems like a lot of Bulls players, people have been coming for them. I understand that Arendse did not want to come back from Japan last season, but the Bull says, no, you signed the contract, so you're coming whether you like it or not. But he's now gone back to Japan as soon as his contract ended. I think Moody could as well be one to watch out for, could be on his way. That's what the streets are saying. But apparently, Coach Ackers has been on the phone to Malcolm Marx, asking if he's interested in coming to Loftus.
Oh yeah, that's also part. That's also one of the headlines. Actually, I was quite shocked about this one in particular. I mean, Jade, looking at the Bulls forward pack with the amount of Springboks that they've got, and then in addition, because you've got Aka van der Merwe, you've got Grobler, and now if you would add Malcolm Marx in the mix of hookers, great competition. But I mean, who starts? Who gets a chance? And who sits out if Ackers is looking at getting Malcolm Marx?
I think that goes according to squad rotation, Scoop. And obviously, the big games, you'll obviously see Malcolm Marx playing. But I mean, Grobler's no slouch as well. He's not a bad hooker. So for me, it's just about squad depth at the end of the day. It's just rumors. At the end of the day, we do know that rugby rumors travel a little bit faster than football rumors. So yeah, I think that if Marx does it over to Loftus, and he does go there, could add more depth to their squad. But then also, it's no use getting Malcolm Marx, but now you're losing Moody and Papier, like you mentioned there. So if they want to compete, they should actually look at keeping all of those guys to compete. It's a little difficult if they're going to lose Papier and Moody and then get Malcolm Marx. It doesn't really balance it out because now you're sitting with 3 top hookers, but you're sitting with a shortage in the back line. So they really need to look at that aspect as well. Maybe at this point in time, I think it would be better to keep Papier and Moody than gain a Malcolm Marx, because what they do have in that system in Grobler at hooker as well, and Aka van der Merwe there and his Els as well. So I think, they just need to have that options in terms of the depth.
Yeah, for me, man, you don't want 1, 2, and 3 for the national side all at the same club.
That's a bit weird.
I've had that at my club at the Scarlets. We had that at one point under Wayne Pivak. We had that in like 3 positions. We had 1, 2, and 3 for Wales all at the same club. It was a mess, man. It didn't work at all. It was ridiculous. I think that if they're determined to bring Marx in, which for me is a bit of a luxury, I'm not looking at the Bulls and going, you know what, these guys need a hooker.
Yeah, exactly.
So if they're bringing Marx in, they've got to let Grobler go.
Oh, then he goes to Stormers then, surely, right? Because the Stormers don't have an out-and-out Springbok hooker.
Or do the Sharks need a replacement for Bongi?
That could work. But I don't see Grobler fitting into that Sharks environment. I don't know. He looks like a player that would be groomed well under Dobbo. I don't know. That's just my thought. But yeah, Sharks could use him because Bongi is also on the older side now. He's older. He's getting older, unfortunately, and I don't know if the guy under him is really like pushing ahead of Bongi at the Sharks. So if you got a Grobler, I think that will kind of push Bongi to also probably improve his game as well a bit, because I understand that he's currently working on his fitness, and I mean he could make an appearance somewhere along this year or maybe next year. Or is he done from what you've seen, guys? I mean, do you think the Springboks will look back?
I think Bongi might make a push for the World Cup, but I don't know if his body will allow him to do it. I mean, if you're looking at the Sharks, they played against the All Blacks in the week, and they had Edward Swart as the hooker. Now, this guy's played for Griquas, he's played for Marties, I think he played a few games for the Pumas as well. And it's not like he's a youngster, I think he's about 28 to 27, 28 thereabout. So it's
mature
not
age.
Yeah, I think he's more of a journeyman. Somebody that, if you're looking at the scope of hookers, he would cover in as your third choice hooker. You normally look at having one top gun hooker and then a youngster coming and being the backup, and then you have a third choice hooker that can fill in. I think he fits into that mold. It's not a bad player. Listen, he's not a bad player. He does his basics well, he scrums well, but he's not I don't think he'll ever. I think his ceiling, is maybe 1 or 2 URC games and Currie Cup level. I think that's his level, Edward Schwartz, So if I was a Sharks and Grobler was leaving, I'll be all over him, all over him. And the same with the junior box captain as well. It's interesting to see where he goes because I think there's a lot of potential in that guy as well.
Is he not at the Sharks?
I think he is. I think he is at the Sharks. Yeah. So you got to look at him as well. I know coming next couple of the ranks coming on. So yeah, is Africa the issue? I think because the gap between Marx and the rest is quite high.
Even now,
I think it's quite high.
Wow.
If you remember last World Cup, Marx didn't play, and Bongi was there.
Yeah.
And Marx got injured. So I think the gap between Marx and the other hookers is quite high. It's similar if you can compare it, the gap with Cam Roygod and the other nines in New Zealand as well at the moment. So that's what you're looking at the moment. So it's always, if Marx is not on the field, you will see it. There is a difference in quality. But yeah, so Africa, it's time now. I think the focus is shift on, maybe these youngsters get a run. And then they'll only be better if you look at the setup like at the Sharks where you have the SN20 hooker, in the setup. Edward Swart is sitting on the bench or starting URC. Surely they're going to have to make that shift, and give those youngsters opportunity and play that range. So I think that's something we need to look at it, hooker.
Fair. Moving along, guys. Richie Mounga joins the All Blacks. This past, I think, apparently landed on Friday, but we'll touch on that in the latter part of the conversations. Ackerman, Blue Bulls coach, believes the Springboks will be well prepared for the All Blacks. This is after the Blue Bulls copped 50-19 against the All Blacks on Saturday. The All Blacks, Dave Rennie, are sweating over Damian McKenzie. That's also something that we're going to talk about later on in the build-up or the preview for next Saturday. USA 15 beat Argentina 15 by 25 points to 24. I didn't even know these these two countries had their A sides playing this past weekend. But it's good to see that there is still some other footy taking place because I think this rugby's greatest rivalry has consumed pretty much every news outlet regarding rugby these past couple of weeks. And I think it's going to continue until the end of September, to be honest. Nonu doing the haka this past week. Obviously, that was news making headlines. He did a haka against the All Blacks, which was quite emotional for a lot of people. And the women's box team also beating or securing a 2-0 series win against Fiji women on Saturday. So Maria Tshiremba scoring a hat-trick on debut. And then I was going to talk about Malcolm Marx, but we're not. Wallabies romping Eddie Jones's Japan 56-17. That's massive. From what we saw between Japan and Australia in Japan, Japan really took it to Australia at home, and they really made it as difficult as possible for the Wallabies. This was Les Kiss' first test away from home. Handled it, won it, although it was close, and then they traveled to Townsville, Australia playing their first home game under Les Kiss, 56-17. 56-17. First half, I thought Australia were really, really, really struggling, and Japan were really bringing the fire and the heat. And yeah, I think from what I've seen, just me giving a rough summary of the game, from what I've seen, Australia in the Nations Championship, brilliant first half, struggled the second half against Ireland, against France, almost similar against Italy, but they beat Italy, and then they traveled to Japan last weekend, and it was a similar outlook, good first half, but Japan clawed their way back somehow, just elementary mistakes from Australia. First time tackles being missed. And I don't think their defense was great, but last night or yesterday, much better defensive effort in the second half and much better creativity. You can see the difference that they have when Carter Gordon is at 10. It's brilliant. They really look like a machine when Carter Gordon is at 10. But I mean, kudos to Les Kiss. 2 wins out of 2. Now they travel to Argentina. I think they play 1 in Argentina and 1 in Australia, if I'm not mistaken. But at the end of the day, it's 2 good games for Australia. Les Kiss can start building from this. Jade, I don't know if you managed to catch the Japanese game or the 2 Japanese games against Australia.
Yo, Scoop, I didn't watch a minute. I was forgotten it was on.
That is a fight.
I'm a family man, and you know what? There's a lot of rugby on TV, and I choose my time wisely. I didn't watch a minute of this.
No. It's all right. It's all right. But I was just giving a summary. But I mean, for now, they're looking good. We will see how they deal with the Pumas once they play against Argentina, and maybe I'll make an analysis around that going forward. But nonetheless, the main topics today, rugby's greatest rivalry. There's a lot to discuss regarding this. First and foremost, we're going to start off looking at the All Blacks against the 3 URC teams. Yes, a lot has been said about players' availability and how strong or how weak the URC teams are. And the All Blacks being a national team playing against mediocre URC teams. There's nothing to take out of it, or is there something to take out of it? Let's start with you, Jade Craig, as an All Black supporter. Give us your synopsis of what you've seen in the 3 tests, or not tests, matches, and what's your take on it? I mean, is it reasonable for anyone to take anything away from this? Or do you understand what happens during tours?
So, can you, off the top of your head, remember the scores or the result from the last Lion series? Or do you just remember the test matches? That's what happens with these games. It's used as prep. We're not going to write home about the scores so long as, there was no major injuries and there was no major, upsets. You're not really going to write home about these scores. Look, the first game against the Stormers, there was concern from the All Blacks. They weren't good at scrum time. I mean, I wasn't on the show last week, but if you look at it, I think a lot of it was also done with Tossie and his footwork. His footwork he struggled there as a tight on the day. As soon as Luwaki and Norris came on, the scrum was solid. And the same against the Sharks. And yesterday against the Bulls, they actually won the scrum battle over there as well. So for me, the All Blacks has gone from strength to strength in that department. However, scrumming against Klopper and, those guys, Sitole and them, that's not Ox and Bongi. Ox and Thomas the Toy and, all of those guys. So, but I always say, and I put my head on the block and I say, New Zealand has a very underrated scrum. They've got a good scrum. They just don't. They're not aggressive enough. They don't scrum that much for penalties as they used to. And the likes of Owen Franks, Carl Hyman back in the day. Right now, there's only aggressive prop they really do have with Ethan de Groot, and he gets penalized maybe 4 times out of 10. He gets penalized, for being over eager, time hinging, hyperextending. So I don't see it as an issue when it comes to All Blacks scrum time. Look, they're going to be under the pump next week against the Boks. It's going to be difficult for them. The Stormers game, the All Blacks struggled at Maul time, struggled with the Maul defense. And what happened? They nullified it against the Sharks. They looked much better. And against the Bulls yesterday, the Bulls scored a try from a breakaway from Maul. They never really got that much change from the Maul. So looks like Jason Ryan is doing some form of work there. But then again, it doesn't compare to the Boks Maul. The Boks Maul is much, much better. They're stronger at Maul time. They back themselves more. The Boks will they'll back themselves to Maul the All Blacks 10 meters out, where other teams won't do that. Other teams will wait until they're about 5 to 7 meters in, and then they'll back themselves. But the Boks will go. They'll really be aggressive at Maul time. So, yeah, that's that for me as the 2 aspects. And then on defense, You're looking at it against the Stormers. They were a little bit shaky on defense. Yesterday, they were much better on defense. Against the Sharks, they were much better on defense, much more dominant. And we saw a few big hits as well. I mean, you look at the hit from George Bauer. I mean, a guy that I'm not really the biggest fan
against
of.
Vermaak.
Against Springbok, he hit him yesterday, you know. And you look at them, the contact, the way they're going in and the way they're adjusting to it. The first game against the Stormers, they didn't expect that physicality. Some of them never played against that physicality. And they slowly were adjusting to it, their body shape, and they're making their post-contact meters. They're getting breakdowns, they're winning breakdowns. The concern for them is, if you look at it, Dion Fourie, Jean-Andre Rudolph, two very, very good players over the ball. I think between the two of them in the two games, they won about 8 or 9 turnovers. So that's a concern. That's a concern. If you're looking at about Paul de Villiers, who will most likely play 6 next week, and Malcolm Marx, what they do over the ball as well, and Damien de Allende, Jasper Visser good over the ball. So that's a big concern for the All Blacks going into the test. Other than that, I don't think they were tested aerially yesterday. I don't think the Bulls tested them at all aerially. So we don't know how Oliver Carter, Josh Morby, and those guys are going to do under the eyeball. And especially with David McKenzie out, what do they do? So look safely. They must probably go with Bowden Barrett at 15, just to be safe, you know. So there's a lot of questions, but there's a lot of good things we saw from the All Blacks. We didn't see them mauling that much. We saw them setting up for the maul, getting a few meters and so, but they haven't been smart on the maul. They haven't really shifted the ball. They shifted the weight at more time. It's just basically been set. They're going forward. They haven't really been shifting. Maybe once yesterday, I think it was Corey Taylor almost scored, but they haven't really shown that much. And they also haven't shown any strike moves. You know, it's been basic inside shoulder running, you know, off the ball, tap-ons. That's basic New Zealand rugby, but we haven't really seen any set-place strike moves. So we're looking forward to see that in the upcoming series. So I think it was a good 3 games in terms of prepping them for a tournament. You don't want the team to go out and win every game 90, 70, 80, 90 naught. What you're going to learn from it. You want to get tested, you know, and you want to make a few mistakes along the way that you can really look at fixing. And what we do forget, Scoop, and I was thinking about it just now, and 1996 was the last time they toured and they won. And regardless of what people said that, you know, the Boks were world champions or so, but if you're looking and you remember that All Black team on paper, that All Black team on paper was arguably one of the greatest teams of all time, you know. We knew the 1995 final. Everybody knew it. If that game was played 10 times, the All Blacks would have won 8 or 9 times. So just on that one occasion, you know, where everything just came together for the Boks and they won. And the next year, they were dominant in the Tri-Nations. They beat them dominantly in the Tri-Nations, and they came into the tournament. So they were in a much better space than now. So the series now is 10 times harder than 1996 because now the Boks are that team that the All Blacks were in 1996, you know. They're that team that you're looking at and say, we're going to beat this team because they don't have any weaknesses at the moment. If you look at it and you ask me, and you would like to have your opinion on this, I think winning the Boks in South Africa is a harder task than beating New Zealand at Eden Park at the moment. I think so.
Oof. Damn. That's a big one. But before we get to that question, please, Jade, remind us after Hugh's look in terms of the same question I asked you. Griffin, you've followed the Lions for a while now and understanding the tours that the British and Irish Lions have done Australia, they've done South Africa in 2021, they've done New Zealand in 2017, they've done Australia in 2013, I think, as well. But like the midweek games, did you take anything out of that as seriously or as that much of importance going into the test week?
No, it's a great question because a Lions tour is definitely what I'm constantly referring this to, contrasting this against.
Yeah.
And I think back in 2021, I think the US, with even URC franchises, I think they were kind of like unattached at that time. The franchises were copping 70s off the Lions squads. And I think, you know, looking back on it, you'd look back on that 2021 squad, not a vintage Lions squad. Conversely, if you look back at the 2017 tour, I think that tour gets better the further away we get from it, in terms of that was probably the strongest. At the time, people were saying that's the strongest Lions squad arguably there's ever been. And they were copping losses. I think they lost to the Blues. They drew with the Highlanders and they lost another one. I think they beat the Crusaders, but it was something like 12-6, like that game where they beat the Crusaders. So it was the Lions were copping losses on that tour, whereas you go back to South Africa in 2021 and it was easy, really. It was completely uncompetitive games. So if you're comparing it to that, the All Blacks are kind of tracking basically the same as what the Lions did, more or less. I think, we all saw that Bulls team on paper and we thought that's a very, very solid URC team. Look at that backline with 7 Khans in it. You got the likes of Willie LaRue in it. Oh, guys, he's gone back to at the end of last URC season, Willie LaRue had a couple of games where you're like, oh, he's back. And then it's like, oh, no, he's not back. No, he's not back anymore. I don't know what this guy is doing on the pitch at the moment. For the very, very limited amount of this game that I saw, it felt like he was just having a joll out there, not playing serious rugby. So, yeah, I would say in terms of what am I taking from these tour games, nothing. On a Lions tour, we'd say it doesn't really mean anything, and I think we've got to say the same for this as well.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Which is pretty scary from a kind of point of view of the All Blacks' depth is the same as England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland put together. It's kind of what that is saying, which is a bit scary.
Oof. Yeah, we're going to discuss all of this. We're going to have to discuss all of this. Before we jump into it now, we are heading into the first test match. There's been a lot of murmurs. There's been a lot of conversations. There's been a lot of chit-chat around officiating. If I asked you, Griffin, what would you like to see going into the first test between the Springboks and the All Blacks regarding officiating?
The big question is about the scrums for me. The big question is, does the referee allow a contest on the scrums, and does he treat both teams the same? Or is he looking for the scrum to just be a restart of the play and any kind of competition is nullified? Because what's going to be really frustrating is if we see a difference across the tests with the different referees. Because if we see one referee says there's no contest here, and even if you're getting, let's take for use an example situation, the Springboks are on top at scrum time and they're driving the All Blacks backwards, but the All Blacks are able to play the ball away and the Boks don't get any reward for the scrum ascendancy, then that has to be consistent across the 4 tests. We can't go from test to test not knowing what the referee is going to be calling at scrum time. Because if the referee allows a contest and lets the ball stay in the scrum and say, okay, let's see who can push the hardest, it's got to be the same across the test and they can't change. Especially they can't change mid-game. Especially they can't say, okay, one side's getting hosed here, let's help them out. They can't do that. So that's the big one for me, is that I need to see that consistency of how the scrum is going to be officiated. And that is a lot of pressure on the referees. And if I had to call it now, I would say that it is probably easier for them to depower the scrum and say it's not a contest. That probably is what is the easier decision for all the referees and all of them to kind of adhere to.
Oof. No, fair. I mean, I think that's a valid point. Earlier today or this morning when I was having the rewatch of the Blue Bulls game, I realized that against the Stormers, they were quite strict on the break foot. England. Sharks, they were quite strict on the break foot. And then the Bulls only one free kick on break foot. My issue with break foot is usually it's inconsistent. If you only blow one issue on a break foot and let's say we have 10 scrums in the game and you blow one side for a break foot, trust me, out of those, the remainder or the 9 scrums that are going to happen, there's going to be somebody infringing on the break foot. It's almost like blowing scrum offs for the feed in the scrums. I mean, at the end of the day, if the whole point about scrums is stability, number one, safety, number two. So if you get those two things right, stability and safety, right, you can see the scrum, both front rows are hitting, bang. And then now it's pressure versus pressure. They sink, there's stability. And then, is it safe? Does it look safe from a referee's perspective where he is standing? No one's neck is being under pressure. No one's head is tilted to a different angle. Everyone is in sync and everyone is safe. The ball is available. That is a perfect scrum. So now why are we worried about, oh, the break foot is moved too early or it's moved? Because the hookers are always going to move their break foot regardless. Once they've hit and set, they always going to move the foot. Whether your foot goes back far beyond your hips or whether your foot is just above your stomach area or your torso. I mean, come on. For me, I feel like it's a non-issue. But like we're looking for things to try and be strict for no particular reason. If the scrum is safe, if the scrum is stable, play on, man. Unless the other team is infringing on the bind and hinging and all the other elements, then yes, you blow your whistle, either a free kick or a penalty because of an infringement. But besides that, I mean, let's not look for things now. Literally, let's not look for things. But you make a good point there, Griffin. Scrum is going to be a very important one where we want to see this, because we're going to have the same officials that we've had in the URC matches. So at the end of the day, we just want to see consistency. And in terms of not blowing too many penalties, I think maybe Nika had less penalties in his game than Carly and Dixon in their games as well. But regardless, Jade, what do you want to see?
Scoop, I wouldn't say you hit the nail on the head in terms of the break foot, but for me, it's frustrating. If you got the ascendancy at scrum time and you give away that stupid free kick on your ball, that is for me I can't stand it. It's like obviously a skew line or throw in, back in the day when nobody was contesting. It was like that. So for me, that whole breakthrough rule, the early hit, everything there is so stupid, and there's also a lack of discipline as well. The breakthrough, not to hit early. For me, the scrum at the moment is still a lottery. Sometimes I don't agree with the way scrum penalties go. I think we can debate on it over and over and over again. I mean, last week I spoke about Tossi's feet against the Stormers. He got penalized with his feet. That was something that was mentioned from the coaches to the referee before the game. And immediately he looked at it. He looked at that immediately. And it was the first scrum he penalized him. So it'll be interesting to see at scrum time what messages the captains and the media and the coaches from both teams gives to the likes of Ox and the likes of
Sorry, Jade.
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you. The worst thing you can do as a coach, is to go. Let's say I'm playing against you, Griffin, and Jade, you are the referee, and I come to you, Jade, and I say, Jade, please watch Hugh Griffin's feet, or watch Hugh Griffin's feed, or watch Hugh Griffin's tackle technique, whatever. The referee, once he gets on the pitch, I'm watching, you tend to watch my team instead of watching what I told you to watch. And then I get to get pinged for the things I've mentioned. Usually, that's what happens. As coaches, if you go and if you go and tell a referee what to look for, they tend to do the opposite. They start watching your team because you are the one that gave information about Hugh and his team. But nonetheless, I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, the way the message is transferred as well, because obviously the referee does come into the changing room before during the warm up and does speak about tight fives as well, that most probably the both tight fives, and he does give a breakdown as what he expects at scrum time. If you look at the way the Boks played against England and Scotland, they weren't that dominant at scrum time compared to last year. So something England and Scotland did there, especially in that first 60 minutes. Once the bench came on, it changed. But the Skuman, Hayes, Gensch, and I think it was Ferguson, they actually managed, they did something at scrum time. And what they did was they didn't allow the box to get that second shove. They didn't allow the box to get that dominant hit. So that's something that the All Blacks will be doing. Whether they're going to do it legally or not, they definitely will target doing that, because England and Scotland, for the first 60 minutes to some extent nullified the scrum or the box scrum, compared to last year where they were just slaughtering everybody. So I think if you look at it the same way, I think if you're looking at the All Blacks scrum, for example, like I mentioned earlier, they will also take the chance as well. They'll go safe and they'll play channel, quick channel one ball, get the ball out, or this have a quick pick up, and they'll play from there. And if they do feel the scrum is settled, they'll also chance their arm at scrum time as well, especially on their own ball. But the box will always look at it as a weapon. The box will go into the same mentality. Every scrum will be a penalty. So what I'm saying is, Scorpio, how's it going to be interpreted from a refereeing perspective? Are we going to have 4 different interpretations of the law in 4 different weeks? That's just because,
yes, I can guarantee you, yes.
Some referees give dominance on the hit, okay? Some referees give dominance on the hit. Some referees are clever at scrum time and say, okay, but this guy on the hit, he's absorbing, he's staying square. But for example yesterday, Xavier Numia wins that penalty. Perfect, he wins the penalty against the Bulls. Some referees look at that and they will give the penalty against Xavier Numia for scrumming in. Am I right or wrong?
For walking around, yeah.
Walking around.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So there's the balance.
It's a 50-50, like you said, it's a lottery.
What consistency are we going to get across these 4 tests? That's what I want to see. And also when the ball at the back, is there going to be a mandate to say, ball at the back, H-man got the feet there, play.
Use it, yeah. That's what Hugh was talking about earlier as well.
Are they going to really allow for the second shove, Are they going to really, and that's from the second shove when the majority of the penalties come. So it'll be interesting to see what the referees do at the store, especially at the scrum time, and then breakdown is another topic for another day, because that's another
Yeah, I mean, just to give you, how I always viewed a scrum personally, understanding the dynamics and what is actually taking place in those situations. I wasn't, because usually teams, right? This is just maybe a basic way of explaining it. 12 o'clock means you're going straight and you're pushing straight in the scrum. 1 o'clock means you're targeting either the tight head and you're pinching him with your loose head and your hooker, and you're really putting under pressure and strain onto him, and then you're pushing at an angle, but then it's not it's not a massive angle that gives a referee an opportunity to see the angle, but you're pinching that tight head and you're pushing straight, not straight, but like at an angle towards him to put him under pressure to make him fold so you can win the tight head at scrum time. So personally, when I'm looking at a scrum, if I'm officiating or refereeing a game, I'm looking for a square backs or square shoulders first, right? And then it's 1-2 step forward without stepping out. A lot of the props would either put the right foot or left foot out and then scrum in at an angle. Once your foot steps out of line, then you're not winning that scrum legally. If you are hitting on set, bah, and then the ball comes in, and then you go 1-2 step, you're pushing at 12 o'clock. Whatever happens after that, after the second step, whatever happens after that, then you can pin for pressure on the opponents because they won't be able to handle that pressure. So that's how I would look at it. So some referees want to pin you from a hit and 1 step, moving either left or right, and then make a penalty. You can't. You have to win the right, though. Number one thing, you have to win the right to put the opponents under pressure. And if you don't win that right, you can't win it in the first step. Because the first step could mean that, yes, you've won the punch, but then now you could still move backwards, right? But if you move 1-2 steps, then you've got ascendancy. Now we are moving forward. Now we've got the power, and we are showing that power against your scrum. So that's how I would look at it. But hopefully hopefully these guys can also do that this coming weekend. We know the Springboks are very strong at scrum time. It's an interesting battle. It's an interesting battle to watch this time around. In terms of line out then, set piece, which of the two teams do you guys think is stronger? And don't all jump at once.
I think the Boks line out has been struggling a little bit, to be honest. I think that it's.
I think against England it was shown up a few times.
Scotland as well. I don't know. I don't know what the reason is for it though. I've kind of felt for a little while now that it's no Nokia, no Parsi for the Boks at line out time. Obviously they've had injury issues at lock during July, so maybe they've just got some new guys in there and it's teething issues. But I feel like that's one area that they might need to worry about. And I don't know if you remember, Scoop, like last year, there were a couple of times where Marx was kind of saving the day a little bit with the maul tries, of the way that he would break off and drive over, kind of maybe made the maul look a little bit better than it was. So I think there's a question mark. The Springboks have a point to prove at line out and maul time, in my opinion.
No, that's a fair point. 100%. Jade?
I think New Zealand's defensive and attacking, how could I say not, contestable lineup has been much better this year. If you look at it, the games that they played against the Stormers and the Bulls and Sharks, they've won quite a bit against the throw. I mean, I think Fabian Holland, the first game, was a menace against the Stormers, although, remember the Stormers will struggle at line of time. They do have a history of, not being the best at line of time, conceding a few turnovers at line of time. I think Fabian Holland is very underrated at line of time. I think he's crucial to that All Black team. He's a very, very good line-out forward. So for me, New Zealand at the moment, especially with Cody Taylor, they look much, much more solid at line-out time. Whoever gets to use the tail ball the most will get the opportunity for the attack shape and to allow them to do that, The Boks are lucky they have a guy like Peter Steph the Twit who can, it's a lock, he can play lock comfortably and, he can get up there at the end. So whoever gets that, and who will be brave enough, to seek those balls, because that's also where teams will attack and defend their lineouts, and compete against them. So you will see a lot of, in the start of the game, where teams will speed up lineup play and just throw two ball, secure ball, get the ball, bring it down, allowing the rush defense to come up. And then from there...
Do you think a two ball would be
the Boks always give you the two
against the Springboks?
The Boks give you the two ball because they want to get you in the middle. So that allows the rush defense to come up, We've seen it for years already with the likes of Audis Avia jumping at two, getting the ball quickly, throwing it out, and then setting up from midfield and then resetting from there. However, if you're gonna get that ball, that tail ball, and if your hooker's gonna hit that dot 3 or 4 times during the game, that gives you the perfect platform to launch an attack. And that's something that New Zealand is gonna look at doing. Especially if they're going to play via at 6. They're going to look at trying to get that tail ball, because if they get that tail ball over there, that gives them, everybody is on the front foot immediately.
100%.
And they've got the extra yard of space to attack. So the Boks as well, if they get that tail ball, it will be, they can also get you that same thing and attack at speed. So both teams know, and they don't want to give them the tail ball. They know it. However, I think in terms of variation at line-out time, the Boks, they're a little bit more advanced there, because they've got so much variations to do at line-out time, and they're not just going to set for a maul. They can do a few tricks there. With New Zealand, they're going to get it in and out most likely. Maybe just set for a rip and then more, get everybody together more, and then either break away from Curry Taylor or more and play from there. But the Boks have a few more variations at line-out time. That I think Rassie Erasmus, with all of his years of coaching experience, and all the tricks he can remember. One season with the Storm, with the Cheetahs against Province, where he had the guy keeping the guy in the air for so long. That's what Rassie Erasmus does at line-out time. He plays around there. So I think the Boks has got a lot of tricks there, but at line-out time defensively, watch out for guys like Fabian Holland and Tupou. They're very, very good at competing.
Interesting. Because, we've got this new law that's currently implemented for maul defense, etc. And I've noticed now a few teams don't go for 7-man, 6-man lineouts, because when you do 7 to 6-man lineouts, you allow the opponents to put more numbers as well, right? And now that kind of nullifies the opportunity to actually get clean ball, because they also have tall timber against your tall timber. So they could have 2 or 3 people up in the air. I think we touched on this when Hugh was talking about who was it? Was it Japan that you were talking about? Like they have twin towers, like they lift 2 people up to contest your lineouts. Yeah. So when you look at the numbers right now, because it all depends on the numbers. If you have a 4-man lineout, it's easy to shift people around because you have a prop at the front and you probably have another prop at the back, or you have a loose forward at the back, and they can either switch around, and depending on who's jumping and which area within that 10 meter of the line out are they jumping at, it's difficult to contest in that element. But if you start having 6-man lineouts, now there's too many numbers, right? Or if you have a 7-man lineout, that's also too many numbers, because I can put the same numbers against your locks or your loose forwards as well. So we can easily contest in that manner. We can put two or 3 people up. Some players or some teams or some countries have the capability of having a prop lift 1 person up just to contest, because also you've got this whole skew throw thing currently with the laws, right? So if we are contesting and the ball goes on the outside shoulder, it's already called a skew throw. So there's also ways to put pressure on your position or your opponents in that regard. It's going to be heavily contested. It's going to be heavily contested. Now, the next topic, guys, is favorites. Before we dissect general play, defense, set piece, and attack, I think we've touched on set piece already, but general play and attack. But favorites going into this game, Griffin, I see a lot of South Africans, they love playing the underdog card, which is unnecessary. You're number 1 in the world. You're 4-time world champions. You're unbeaten in 12 games so far this season, or for the past 12 months. You haven't lost to New Zealand since 2022. 4 years. I mean, genuinely speaking, who are favorites going into this rugby's greatest rivalry, and why?
Box are clear favourites. You got the number 1 team in the world playing at home. And end of story.
That's enough. That's it. Jade.
Obviously the Boks. I mean, the All Blacks were running off. Many people said it would be 4-0. So the Boks are favourite, guys. Like I said, it will be harder, and I'll repeat. Winning South Africa at the moment is harder than winning at Eden Park against New Zealand at the moment. I think it's just a comparison.
Fair enough. Short, sweet, and delivered. Okay, depth conversation. We've spoken about the depth of the Springboks for the past few seasons now. We've seen them experiment this year in the Nations Championship. They've used 3 different teams. Against England, it was a different team. Siya Kolisi and Eben Etzebeth not available for the English game. Scotland, they used a different team. Still Siya and Eben not available, and obviously a few other injuries. And then against Wales, right? A few changes as well. But I think there's been common denominators or constant players like your Cobus Visa, your Paul de Villiers has been consistent. And I think maybe over the past 3 games, or those games in the Nations Championship, they've gained some ascendancy of putting up their hands into getting a starting or being in the starting lineup for this Saturday. Do you think Cobus Visa and Paul de Villiers have done enough, Craig? Jade?
Paul de Villiers, yeah. I think Paul de Villiers has done enough. I mean, arguably, you'll start with Eben. Eben played 80 last week, so you'll be fine. You'll get the start. But Cobus Visa will definitely be in the 23. I think he's a massive impact player. I honestly believe that, Paul de Villiers starts at 6 if he is injured. Like I said, I think they've done enough. and they're menace around the park. Obviously, looking at the way Rassie set it up now, bringing in Deon Fourie, he's going to target the breakdown. He's going to target, New Zealand's cleaners at breakdown. The fatigue factor at altitude will come in, so he's going to target that. And that is why he brought in Deon Fourie. And Paul de Villiers starts at the moment. Cobus Wiese, for me, it's unfortunate, that for him, he's playing the best rugby of his career at the moment. However, I think even Etzebeth gets in there by his name and his presence alone on the field. But no, at the moment, look at it. You're going to have to look at it with form coming in. I mean, Evans had no form coming into the series. He's played hardly played rugby, but the presence and the name of even Etzebeth. Another thing, in terms of the depth and everything in terms of the box, I think a lot of these players are different players when they put on that box jersey compared to franchise or URC level. And it's similar to where I always go with comparisons between the two. But New Zealand were in the same situation in the years of Nonu and Smith, where those guys wouldn't have the greatest, Corey Jane was one as well, wouldn't have the great Super Rugby campaign. However, as soon as they put on that All Black jersey, they were, world class again. And there's a few box players that does that, As soon as they put on that jersey, they world class again. So for me, like you asked me, in terms of the depth, the box depth of class, Oaks might not play next week, but they've still got Wessel, Steenkamp, Bowen Venter in there, at loose that can do more than a job. Thomas de Toy is there. At tight it was Ulo, what this guy's name is? Low, and what the guy's name is playing in? Sadi. So they've got
Sadi, jeez,
they've got
UBB.
So much depth, I think the area where they might not have a lot of depth might be at lock with everybody that's not being fit at the moment. That's the big issue, and maybe at hooker. But they've got guys that can step in, and as soon as those guys put on, you can wake a guy up on Saturday morning, and you can say, "Listen, we've got 3 guys injured. You haven't played rugby for them box, but you are going to put on the jersey today to the box against All Blacks. They will give you 150%. So that's not to worry about. When it comes to the box, they're really in their country.
Okay, no, fair enough. And then now speaking of this depth, for you, Hugh Griffin, we saw a lot of players not available for their franchises. Do you think it would have been a risk if Rassie released some of those guys to go play for their franchises? And what do you make of the depth now with the current players? Like, for example, I said Paul de Villiers has looked sharp in the Nations Championship. Cobus Wiese has looked sharp. Does he leapfrog in Eben Etzebeth? And also, who is the other lock, Jade? You didn't mention the other lock. If Eben is starting at 4, do we go with Nokia?
Nokia, definitely.
Okay. Griffin?
No, it's always a risk to release the players to go and play, because the more you play, the more likely you are to get injured. And unfortunately, what we see, and this is a massive problem with the Lions tour, is, as you guys said earlier, people only remember who wins the test series. People only go back and say, he won this test series. No one remembers actually kind of what happened. People just, look at the scoreboard. And there's a massive problem with the Lions, because it's robbed a lot of romance from it. And it can easily be the same thing here, where Razzie's going, hey, look, in 10 years, when people go on Wikipedia to see what happened on this tour, all they want to know is who won. So who cares about the midweeks? I'm just going to prioritize winning the test matches, and that's what the history books care about.
No, fair. Now, going into then, I guess the game, Saturday. What are you... Let's start with you, Griffin. What are you looking forward to seeing from a Springboks perspective? And how do you think they should approach the game against the All Blacks, from little or whatever you've seen in the past URC games that they've played?
It's a massive test of psychology and bravery for the Boks for me, because what we historically see is when South Africa play New Zealand, they revert to type and they play a very, very tight game. Now, the Springboks game is tight at the best of times, but they go like super conservative when they play against the All Blacks, is historically what we see. Now, the best ever result the Springboks had against the All Blacks was, of course, in Wellington last year, where they didn't play conservative, where they played razzle-dazzle rugby and it worked incredibly well. So that's my question to the Boks is, are you brave enough to play that kind of rugby, and is Rassie brave enough to pick that kind of team that did that to the Springboks, did that to the All Blacks last year? Are you going to go to that, or are you going to go back to the old-fashioned way of up the jumper rugby? That's my question.
Tough question. Very good question. Jade, what are you looking at? What would you, or how, actually, because you're an All Black supporter, how do you think the Boks are going to attack the All Blacks?
It's difficult because if you look at it, the Boks have beaten the All Blacks 4 times out of the last 5 in outings, and one of them has been a World Cup final where they were really conservative. The Boks has been looked most dangerous when they've kept ball in hand and showed a little bit of dazzle. I mean, if you go back to the World Cup final, we're not going to count that much because obviously it was going to be a KG game. The game before that, at Twickenham, where they played, they threw the ball around and they blew them up front. They threw the ball around and they broke the All Blacks. They tore the All Blacks apart. You're looking at the first game that Razor coached in Ellis Park. It was a KG event for about 65 minutes or so. The Boks tried to throw the ball around, and they eventually they got a bit of the All Blacks, and the same with the game in Cape Town. And then if you're looking at it in the Wellington game, the Boks threw the ball around, like you said, and they kept ball in hand. They made the right decisions. They didn't kick everything away, and they gave the All Blacks a hiding. So I still think the best thing to do against the All Blacks is keep a hold of the ball. Keep a hold of the ball. If you put together 10 or 11 phases against them, they're going to crack. You're going to get the line break. And the Boks have the capability of dominating the breakdown, cleaning, dominating, getting one-off carries. Look, the Boks got a few plays in there that can get isolated in the carry, but they won't still be turned over because the work that the both contact meters and the way they carry the ball strong, they might still be able to keep up until the cleaners come around. Whereas the All Blacks, I don't think they have that many plays that can do that. Maybe 1, 2, or 3, to stay on their feet for that extra 2 or 3 seconds before going down, allowing the cleaners to come in. So for me, the Boks, definitely, I think they're going to look at it. They're going to surprise the All Blacks. They're not going to kick everything. They're going to be cagey for a bit, but there's going to be a 10, 20-minute period in the game where they're going to throw that ball around and they're going to look at exposing the All Blacks, and they might just take the game away from them in that aspect. So I think from Rassie and Tony Brown or so, yes, set up, the fold that we're going to go aerially, we're going to kick the ball, etc., etc. But there's going to be a period in the game where they're going to keep that ball, and you'll see they might even run out of their own 22 because guys like Colby, Willems, Arends, their first instinct is to counter-attack. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to play a situation. So I don't think you're just going to see everything being kicked up like the English testers. I don't think so. I think you're going to see a little bit of razzle-dazzle from the Boks. Definitely.
Jeez. Okay. 2 different answers. One conservative, one razzle-dazzle from the Boks. That's very interesting. I think I'll go with the conservative part on this one. First test, Springboks want to win it as much as possible to put more pressure on the All Blacks, because whoever wins the first test on Saturday, pressure is on the second team, the team that loses on Saturday, or going into Cape Town. And I think Boks will be conservative. We'll see the similar style to what they played against England. And then maybe in the last quarter, when they have their bench on, they'll look at throwing the ball around, because they will have created scoreboard pressure. They will have created more pressure at set piece time. And that's what they'll look to do. But if they decide to throw the ball around, I think that'll be playing straight into the New Zealand hands. Because when the Springboks, just like New Zealand, when you throw the ball around, you have isolated players. It's easier for turnovers for both sides, not just New Zealand or not just South Africa, for both sides. And there's more risk, right? And you are hoping to get more reward the more risks you take. But going into the All Blacks then...
Oops. They're not going to throw the ball around end to end, coast to coast. That's what I'm saying. What they will do is they will keep the ball, hit up a face, come around the corner, hit up the face, come around the corner until they get that half breath, that half cap, and from there they're going to attack. and they're going to see and they're going to suffocate the All Blacks like that. That's what I mean with their kind of razzle-dazzle. I don't expect to see cross kicks left, right, and center, tap-ons, inside.
Okay.
They're going to come harder on the corner, and don't be surprised if they do that even in their own 22 as well. 2 or 3 times come harder on the corner, look up, see there's a 5-on-3, and then exploit it from there. They will do that. Other thing is, remember that I think the All Blacks, like I mentioned earlier, the All Blacks are going to target them at line-out time. And the All Blacks are going to kick and go to the line-out a lot in this test. They're going to do that because they're going to target that line-out.
Fair. Now, looking at the All Blacks, then, how, sticking with you, Jade, and then Hugh after him, how does Dave Rennie and his coaching staff approach this first test?
It'll be interesting to see if Rennie will fall on his sword in terms of playing the game at high speed and high tempo, or will he be a little bit more conservative? I think one of the pain points in the past 3 fixtures on tour, obviously it was tour games, was that they tried to do too much. There was an extra offload that they tried at times that didn't come off. So it'll be interesting what mindset they do have, Will they use the likes of Luke Jacobson, Holland, Derry, them just to be out and out cleaners, to run in support play if it is on play to them, but their main role is to clean, get quick ball for Cam Roygaard and co. Will they do that approach, or will they encourage those guys? Listen, the 50-50 is on, go to your natural instinct and play it. So that will be interesting to see how the All Blacks do that. And when do they do it? Are they going to, there's a likelihood that they'll butcher a few tries if they're going to do that, but when are they going to do it? I don't see them doing it in their own half. I think out of the red zone, let's say from their 10-meter line or so, I see a lot of kicking. I'll see Cam Roygaard, Jory Barrett, the fullback whoever plays with D-Mac or Bowden Barrett and Ruben Love looking to kick a lot. And a skill that a lot of these All Blacks have done and the Flyers have done throughout the season, they managed to get crucial 50-22s at times, They kick well and they target their 50-22. I mean, Ruben Love's done it against the Sharks. We saw Jacob do it yesterday. Jody Barrett's done it against the Sharks. So they look at getting that 52. They'll play a situation just to get that 52-22. They'll make sure that the wing is up, the fullback is out of the line, and they play for that 50-22. So that's a weapon, that the All Blacks also look at. If you look at it, Super Rugby, they've been countless occasions that Flyers have done it and fullbacks have done it this season. So will be interesting to see how much kicking the All Blacks do, how good the kick chase is, because in Afrikaans words, it was fraught under Razor. The kick chase was bad. We haven't really seen it this season under Rennie because he's been more, keeping ball in hand. And for me, like I said, I don't know. Are they going to force the pass? Are they going to force that final pass? Or are they going to have that discipline just to go through the phases and trust the game plan? Okay, we could have threw the pass now to Pai to score under the post, but it was a 50-50. Let's keep it rather so that in 2 or 3 phases time, Jordan will score in the other corner. So that's where they're going to, their decision making on attacks is going to come in. So yeah, for me, the All Blacks, I think that's how they're going to look at it. You'll see a lot of kicking from them in terms of attacking kicking. A lot of it, looking for the 50-22s. And we'll see how the kick chase is, and we'll see a lot of bridge passing in this game. A lot of it. If you look at it, All Blacks, they've got a backline full of guys that can play a bridge pass. And it'll be interesting to see if the Boks, see it as a threat, because Australia last year when they beat them, that's how they got around the rush defense with that bridge pass. Cutting out 2 or 3 defenders and hitting the gaps out wide. So you'll see Quinto Paya, Jody Barrett, Robin Love, the fullback, if it's McKenzie or Barrett, come in and play that bridge pass out to likes of Morbin and what's his name? Jordan early, so they can attack that space outside.
Okay, fair enough. Griff?
Yeah, I'm interested that Drade mentioned 50-22s, because I think the All Blacks kicked a 50-22 in every July game that they played, and I think they were the only team to do that. And it definitely, as Jade said, comes back to Super Rugby with this rule about you're allowed to pass the ball backwards, back into your own half to get a 50-22, which means that teams have spent a lot more time and players have spent a lot more time working on 50-22 plays and having the awareness and scanning for those opportunities. So, by the way, I definitely think that's a rule that's going to get rolled out across the world, by the way, that rule about you're allowed to take it back for a 50-22. And if I'm a kicking coach working anywhere in the world right now, I'm watching the All Blacks for this specific tactic because they've got a chance to really steal a march on the whole rest of the world with this tactic, with the ability to kick 50-22s. They're already really good at it. So if I'm a kicking coach, I'm like, okay, there's a high likelihood that this is what everyone is going to be doing in a year or 2 years. But knowing rugby, they'll probably change the rule right before the World Cup, right? So for me, I think the All Blacks have got a chance to be world class at this. And I think it's definitely a tactic to watch out for as the Test series progresses.
Flox Elias has joined the Blue Bulls. I hope he's listening to the pod. Hopefully. Anyway, last part then of this discussion, gents, is match day 23. Griffin, who is your match day 23 regarding? I mean, with the box side, I think, yeah, it's quite straightforward. Is Ox available?
This is my thing. I'm not sure where everybody is on injuries.
Oof. I don't understand why South Africa has been quiet. The Springboks have been very quiet about any information this past 2 weeks, to be honest.
We know they'll say one thing on the Monday, and then on the Friday there'll be something else.
We could see Ox and Chair starting on Saturday. Oh, God. Man, come on. Just give us information. Why are we being so coy and hiding things? But nonetheless, hypothetically, let's say Ox and Chair is available.
Okay, so then then it's Ox, and then you got Marx, obviously, and then Wilco or Thomas Toy. It doesn't matter which.
Yeah.
He's not. He didn't play Eben against Argentina because he's not thinking of playing him now. So if he can play Eben, he will, and then it'll be Nokia as well. And then back row, it will be, obviously, we know it will be Jasper, it will be Peter Steff, and it will be, I think, Paul de Villiers if C is not fit.
Oof.
And then Kobus or Grant?
That is the big question.
It's a big question. I genuinely don't know.
I think Kobus.
I think
Kobus.
Starts. Yeah, it's a question of who do you want on at the end. I think starts Kobus, brings on Grant. I think he probably wants Grant on the bench as well because he can cover wing and stuff. So yeah, that then 10. That 10's a big
another big one. Ooh-wee. I think Money starts.
No, I'm not going to say what I was about to say, but yes, I would suggest that Manny starts as well.
No, you must say it. Say it. The fans want to hear it.
No, I'm not saying it. I don't want it. I don't want the heat, man. But no, he's got to pick Manny for me. I strongly would hope that he would pick Manny, is what I'm saying. And then we know it'll be Dialende. We know it'll be Creel. On the bench, obviously, we know it's either Kobus or Grant. Does he pick?
Wait, Hugh. Wait. Jade has spoken about Willemse earlier, the razzle-dazzle. Instead of Dialende at 12, why not Willemse next to Manili Bok?
Well, where did Willemse...
Because he did that in Wellington, I think.
Where did Willemse actually play in Wellington, though?
I think he was at 12. And then he moved after, when Sasha got injured. Yeah.
So, I think it'll be Willemse at fullback, and it will be Dialende at 12. Is what I expect. Okay. And then Esther Hazen on the bench wearing 20.
So this is a 6-2, clearly.
Oh, yeah. And then I don't know who wears 23, though. Oh, Quan Horn wears 23.
Not a against the All Blacks. Wow.
I've been impressed with him. with him. And I think that's what Razzie's already invested. He's been investing in Quan Horn stocks. Man.
No, true. I agree.
People, let us know in the comments. Right, who wears 23?
Fair.
And then it's Cheslin and Aronson on the wing.
Jade, any questions on this lineup?
I think Hughes got at about 75-80%. I don't know about Ox. Ox won't start. If he will start, if he's fit or not. But you'll definitely see either Steenkamp or Bones Venters to start.
Bones Venter against Tyrell Lomax.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Bowen or Steenkamp will start. One of the two.
Someone is licking their lips at the scrum.
And then obviously Eben, Nokia, De Villiers, if Sia's not fit, he'll start. And then Peter Steff, Wissa, Reinach 9, I think Mani 10. Although Mani's long last played rugby. When was it Mani played?
He played against England, no?
Yeah, he's played against England, but I mean, and
who was the 10 against Scotland? Pollard. And then against Wales?
It was Vusi Moyo.
Wow. So Mani only played one game.
Mani came off the bench.
He came from the bench, but I mean, he hasn't been that focal point. He's expecting to start.
So we're all not seeing Sasha on this first test, or maybe player 23.
Maybe 23.
Maybe 23.
Between him and Pollard, because you're going to have cover at 12.
Actually,
Willemse can go to 12.
Actually, I think if Pollard's not playing, if it's Sasha and Mani, I think Sasha starts and Mani's on the bench. That's not what I'm saying. What I would do, I think that's what Razzie would do.
Yeah, it could be. But I mean, it'll be interesting to see what he does with his forward pack on the bench, because like I'm saying, I think Jan-Hendrik Wessels will get the 16 jersey. If not, Dion Fourie. If not, they called him up for a reason. And then obviously you'll have your prop on the bench, Bowen or Steenkamp, if Ox is not there. Bokolo will be on the bench, and then you'll have a lock. I think it will be Kobus Wissa. I think he gives you more of an impact than Lotte Jager. I think Lotte Jager is a starter instead of an impact player.
I think he's dropped off a bit, Lotte Jager.
And same with Frans van Mostert. So,
yeah, both of them.
Yeah, and then I think what his name will be, the other flank, Marco van Staden, to come off the bench. And then you'll have Andre Estreisen, Kobus Reinach or Grant Williams, and then I think Sasha or Mani on the bench, but I think he starts Mani benches Sasha.
Oof. Because maybe Sasha's fitness, because he likes to run the ball. Like last week, I was talking to Vickers, and Vickers was really annoyed, or not annoyed per se, but like he was really concerned about the amount of carries Sasha was making against Argentina, because now he has to really focus on the telly to make sure that he gets up. Yeah. But like at international rugby, he said...
This is why I'm a Mani fan. This is why I always pick Mani. It's Sasha, you're never going to change that about him.
Oof, crazy. Okay. We've got the Springboks 23. All Blacks, Jade, take us away. Hugh, you can jump in anywhere in between that as well.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll reach over to you as I go through the track 5 and then the listeners go through and then the bench you. That's fine, we can do that. But by track 5, I'll start Fritz Newell. I'll start him at tight head.
Yeah.
Because you'll see what I'm going to do with Cody Taylor and Ethan de Groot. Reason being, Ethan de Groot's a similar height as the Mighty Williams. So I think they'll sit easy at scrum time like that. They'll be accustomed to doing scrumming like that as they scrum together, the Crusaders. I'm looking at combinations. Locks, I'm tempted to start Fabian Holland because I think he was outstanding yesterday and against the Stormers. The guy has an engine on him, in his work. If not, if he's not there, but I'll go Holland, and I would go I would go Daddy and Holland and Holland in my locks.
Fair.
Via 6. Obviously, it will be Jacobson, although we wouldn't want Jacobson. But Jacobson at 7, Audi at 8. That's what I think in Rennie will name.
Yeah.
9 we know is a given. Roygaard, 10, Ruben Love. 12, 13, Koen and Geordie. And then my left wing would be Morby. My right wing would be Will Jordan. And my fullback would be Damien McKenzie or Bowden Barrett, depending on who's fit. Yeah. But I think...
But I want to jump in. I want to jump in on that 15 because I think Rennie, the only time he's being stubborn is keeping players when you can see that they're limping and being injured. And he ran Damien McKenzie against the Sharks for a good 29 to 30 minutes. I was so annoyed. But regardless, seeing him limp from Avuile's clip from St. Stithians College from their training, I think they will still start him. I strongly believe they'll still start McKenzie for Saturday.
And I think he has the assurity that okay, if D-Mac does pull up after this first game, he's got Richie Mounga there.
Yeah, exactly. Moanga is going to play against the Lions, so they can fix that, and then they'll probably put Love at 15 there.
At 15.
Ahead of
a similar shape and setup. And setup. So yeah, I'm not too phased so much about the high balls that everybody is, because what I've seen with the All Blacks is no, guys, what I've seen what happens is there can be a case where if let's say Morby or somebody is struggling, where they'll shift him into 13 on certain defensive plays for box kicks, and they'll throw it back. Back in. Ruben Love will be there. He's good in the air. So they'll shift and they'll adjust during the game. On the bench, oh boy, why starting Newell? Because this is what I want to bring on the bench after 45 minutes. Asafa Moa, Numia, and Tyrell Lomax, the Hurricanes front row. I think that works as a combination, I would also on the bench have Maria Tshiremba as lock, at lock, and then I'd have.
Who do you take out between Derry and Holland when you make the subs?
Derry.
Okay.
Holland can go. Holland can go 80 minutes. He's a freak. Then I would take out Derry, bring on Maria Tshiremba, and then here's my other thing. Now it's between three. It's between Satiti, Lakai, and Segner. There's only 2 spots there because I'm going 6-2. I'm going 6-2 against the Boks. So then what I'll do is I'll go on current form at the moment. Lakai and Segner. Playing better rugby than Satiti. Obviously, my scrum off on the bench would be Preston or Roy. It doesn't matter who. They only play 5 minutes if. And then my utility on the bench would be either Anton Leonard Brown or Rico Ione. And I think that's how it would go. I would do that if I was going into the test next week. I think
I don't want the All Blacks to go 6-2, Jade. I'm sorry.
I don't want them to go, but I think it's a smart move. Because Scoop, now you're gonna.
Did they go 6? Wait. Did they go 6-2 against the Bulls?
No, they didn't. They didn't. They don't like to do it. But here's my thing. You're looking at guys that's knocking on the door. Lakai and Segner is very unlucky not to be in that team, and the impact they'll make from the bench, And then you're looking at Maria Tshiremba, his impact. So whose impact is going to be the most? Lakai, Segner, or Maria Tshiremba, or a reserve winger that's going to come in the last 20 minutes? I would think that 3 in front. I would think so.
Fair.
If things do go pear-shaped, you can always push, somebody out into the wing. Maybe Ratimo goes, because I think Ratimo can cover wing to a certain extent. He has a little more pace than Preston, maybe.
Then you have to put Carter as your utility. Because he plays 13, 11, 14, 15, and 9.
And 9. That was always something they said they would do. But then if you do that, Murphy's
there's too much risk with the game. 6-2 split is too much risk, man.
Yeah, it is too much risk, but you're gonna have to do that if you want to beat the Boks. That's a surprise element I'll look at. I don't know. I just my thing. I think Laka and Segner from the bench as a combo offers more than what Anton Brown is gonna offer me. You get what am I saying?
Yeah, I hear you.
And what Carter's
There's a bit of agility and obviously post-contact meters made.
Getting over the ball, stealing ball. Because imagine if you, in that last few minutes, you had your Lucy's of Lakai, Segner, and Ori Savia on the field. It's a threat at every breakdown.
Okay, fair. All right. We're not going to make predictions. I just wanted us to see what this looks like and what this will look like, and also get the feel from just mentioning the two teams. And obviously considering both sides are also hampered by injuries over the past couple of weeks. I think personally, I would say it's an evenly balanced game with 60-40 for the Springboks because they're at home and they've got the depth and the players and they've won the World Cup. They've got the experience. And the All Blacks are building. There's no doubt they will challenge, 100%. But maybe that last 10 to 15 minutes, or actually second half, will be the decider of these games. First half, I'm not really worried about. I don't care what the scoreline says. But second half, I think that's where both teams will be tested. I think that's where both opportunities, either missed or taken, makes the difference for this game. We can look at set piece. Maybe Springboks might get 1 or 2 ascendancy, but I think All Blacks will try and get 1 back in that regard. General play, I think the breakdown will be very crucial, because that's where you either dominate the game or you lose the game. Because I know what Dave Rennie is trying to do. He will try not to kick the ball out. Because if you kick the ball out, you give the Springboks line-out options, you give the Springboks mauls where you get penalized on defense. So if you keep the ball in play, the longer you keep it in play, the better for the All Blacks. But the longer, if you're going to exit, like he said in the post-match, if you exit, you are just giving these guys to play right into their hands, basically. Because if they thrive on scrappy ball on a 50-50 contestable, instead of catching the ball, they get a scrum, or it is a scrum anyway, and they might blow you away. Or if you kick the ball out on your exits to give them a line out where they can maul and get a penalty from a maul, and they kick more line outs and get more mauls, and by the time you look up, they're already 5 meters from your try line. So there's so many elements to it to break it down. Because if you look at Cortez Ratama, he didn't exit from his box kicks. He was kicking it down the channel, especially on the trenches. So that was done for a reason, because you don't want these guys to get lineouts. Yes, Hugh.
That's cool. Other thing is quickly jumping in I also want you to come in on this as well. So I jumped in. The box kickoff and all of the box teams kickoff this or URC games kickoff has been straight behind the pod, the first pod, the 22 onto the 13 or the center. And New Zealand, for me, it looks shaky every time, regardless who's there. Sometimes Jody Barrett catches it there and kicks it, exits it. Sometimes, Rico takes it and he tries to pass or he takes it up. So it'll be interesting to see does a box exploit this, and what does Dave Rennie do there? Do we go in the game and say, okay, right, I'll put somebody like with a bigger presence like a Luke Jacobson or a Tupou there to catch the ball clear and then we exit from that side, or are we really going to look at it and playing the ball inside? Because if you look at the way they attack the kickoff, they're always coming from that side out to in because they know the All Blacks is going to look to pass the ball for better clearance and exit there. So that's also another thing we need to look at and keep eyes on the weekend.
Fair. Griff?
I just wanted to get your thoughts, Scoop, on, because we talked about the maul there. I don't think we've talked about it on this pod. Apologies if we have and I missed it.
Yeah.
New laws about having to retreat back around, about how once you go past the ball, you have to go back around.
Yeah.
Is this not just making the maul twice as powerful?
You could. It can be powerful, but I haven't seen a lot of ascendancy from a lot of teams, especially if it's strength versus strength from opponents. Because the problem is there's always guys on the side of the maul. So, for example, I think I was talking to Vickers about it. So if you look at the horns or an arc, you have the two guys. For example, I was making what's this thing? I was breaking down a maul defense. So most teams will put their props in the middle of the line out, right? And you'll put your lighter players on the outside, maybe one on the 15 and one on the 5 meter. And then the props and your locks, the props are the two guys in the middle. And then next to the props, you'll have your locks. Those are your heavy bodies. And if your team is lifting, the two props are trying to get through the seam. So your team is lifting, you've got 3 players and one in the middle. He's gone up as they try to bring him down. So the two props, what their focus is to break that seam, is to break away the lifter from the jumper. So they will hold the pants and they'll hold the shorts and try and drag him by with the left hand to pull him out of that maul setup, or the guy on the other side will grab the lifter on the right hand side of the shorts and try and pull him up so that they can squeeze their heads in between the lifter and the jumper so that they can defend it properly. This is how Jason Ryan has implemented maul defense. Because if you remember when Jason Ryan started with the All Blacks did not lose any mauls or did not get any tries scored against them for mauls, basically. So that's how you broke it down. Regardless of that, now you see teams against the Blue Bulls yesterday, if you move past the ball, the referees still tell you to move, get out, move back. But if you decide to stay, like we've seen against Stormers, the All Blacks got pinged a few times. But they learned from the Stormers, they improved against the Sharks, and then they got better against the Blue Bulls because they never got pinged against the Blue Bulls. So for me personally, I haven't seen any ascendancy, but the way now maybe some teams or coaches or line-out coaches might look at this is if you lift, if you got three players, one in the middle, the two on the side are lifting, but next to that, the fourth player, if you look at lifting the jumper, and then the jumper passes the ball to the fourth guy next to them in the maul, like shifting the ball in the maul. If you could do that, that's one way to beat the maul defense. If you do it specifically like that, when guys, I mean, there's a clip that was shared on social media. I think it was between Southland and one of the NPC sides. So they lifted the guy in the air, and as he came down, they shifted the ball from that point of contact to the next pod in the maul, and they went straight under the poles and scored a try. So if you do that with this new law, you have to shift the ball. So I think maybe the Springboks will do the shifting of the ball from the main point of contact to the next pod, and the All Blacks will probably do the same thing as well. So you really need to be sharp and alert. Maybe you might need more than 4 people just watching at how to defend it, and maybe have 5 people, but depending on the numbers of the attacking line. But yeah, I haven't seen a lot of emphasis from referees regarding this. Maybe 1 or 2 penalties here and there. But I mean, during the Nations Championship, there were so many teams just coming close to the ball. And you're like, I thought this was a new law. So sometimes referees will be strict on something when it comes out first, maybe the first 3 or 4 games, but you see it slowly drifting away and they stop focusing on it. For example, the 5-second rule, where at the breakdown, players need to, or scrum halves needs to kick the ball within 5 seconds. When was the last time you saw a referee tell a scrum half 2 seconds at the breakdown? We haven't seen that a lot, right? But when it first came out, it was very strict. And then referees kind of really fall into this trap of, we're going back to what we normally do and we let players play as normal. There's, like this breakfoot thing. Yeah, it might be serious right now, or paying too much attention to it because both teams probably think that they've got very good, strong scrums. But if we go back to autumn series, 3-4 months later, probably there's no one who gets pinged for a breakfoot. So I don't know, in terms of consistency, we might be lacking in that department. But yeah, that's what I think about the maul and the new law that's come in. But I haven't seen any consistency around it. Any other thoughts, gents, before we call it off?
Oh, by the way, I just wanted to shout out Jacobson because I asked you guys in the chat, like, what does this guy do? Because I was looking at his stats and I was like, this guy doesn't do anything. He doesn't tackle, he doesn't carry, he doesn't win headovers. Then I went back and I watched the games, and he's a definition of a system player. You got to see how often he stands at first receiver, how involved he gets in the attacking shape. He's one of those players that when he does touch the ball, it's purposeful and it's classy. So I now like him.
Fair enough. But Jade, closing comments? Jade is gone.
No, I'm here. No, I just want to say I'm looking forward to the build-up for this first test. I hope we get a good test. I hope there's no real referee decisions, that everybody will whine about for the next week. To go back and forth and up and down, and so you just enjoy it.
I just want to enjoy it as well.
Forward to this one at Ellis Park. It'll be nice to see Ellis Park full for a change. I'm not used to seeing people in that stadium.
Oh, flip! By the way, I'll be there. Oh,
when are you coming?
Land on Thursday evening.
Okay, cool.
Ekasta Sosapa.
Okay.
Griffin, closing comments?
Shout out Bok Women, the historic tour to Fiji. First ever South African team ever to tour Fiji. 2-0 Test series win.
Yeah. 100%, yes. History has been made. And yeah, I think they beat them by 50 in the first test, and then second test was much closer, which is good to see as well. Also good to see the women travel,
Yeah, definitely.
Tour.
Fiji have got the new coach of Fiji women is Willie Walker, who was the coach of the Blues women, took them to 3 Opiki titles. So looks like a good appointment there.
No, fair enough. All right, guys. I mean, all the talk has been done, and now we look forward to the big test match at Ellis Park, Highveld. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be a humdinger. Thanks, Jade. And see you guys next week, Sunday, when we dissect the first test between the All Blacks and the Springboks, rugby's greatest rivalry. Cheers, guys. Have a great Sunday and enjoy the rest of the week.
Cheers, guys.